If your doctor has ever told you to just reduce stress to help your Crohn's, you probably wanted to throw something at them. Because when you're already anxious about flaring, being told to relax is about as helpful as being told to just stop having Crohn's disease. Hi, I'm Kate, and today we're talking about the anxiety flare cycle and how to actually break it. Now, this matters because most advice about stress and Crohn's, it completely misses the point. You're not stressed because you're doing life wrong. You're stuck in a biological loop between your nervous system and your gut, and that loop can be interrupted. I've watched this play out in my own home. My son's Crohn's flares, well, they had these eerie patterns. They'd show up like clockwork during exam weeks, after friendship dramas, when big changes were happening, and the cruel part, once he'd start feeling gut symptoms, he'd get anxious about flaring. Well, that seemed to make everything worse, which made him more anxious. And round we went. As a naturopath, I understand the gut brain axis in theory, but as a mum watching your kid trapped in that cycle where you can't tell if the stress is causing it or the flare is causing the stress, that's a special kind of helpless. And here's what I see in my practice constantly: people being told to reduce stress, then feeling like failures when they can't meditate their way out of a flare. Or worse, being made to feel like their flares are somewhat their fault because they're just too anxious. That is not how any of this works. So, let's get really clear on what's actually happening. Your gut and brain are in constant communication through something called the gut brain axis. It's a two-way highway involving your vagus nerve, your immune system, and the trillions of bacteria in your gut. When you're stressed, your brain sends danger signals to your gut. Your gut responds by changing how it moves, how much it secretes, and how your immune system behaves. With Crohn's, where your immune system is already overactive, stress is like throwing petrol on a fire that's already burning. But here's the bit that keeps you stuck. Inflammation in your gut sends signals back up to your brain, triggering more anxiety. So you end up in this loop. Stress triggers gut symptoms trigger anxiety, anxiety triggers more gut symptoms. The mistake most people make is trying to fix this with their mind. Positive thinking, meditation apps, telling themselves to calm down. But you can't think your way out of a nervous system response. Your body is in a physiological state of threat, and it needs physiological tools to shift out of it. This isn't about eliminating stress from your life because that's impossible, and honestly, not even the goal. It's about interrupting the loop before it spirals and teaching your nervous system that it's safe enough to stand down. Okay, let's get practical. I'm going to give you 3 nervous system regulation techniques that work in under 5 minutes, and then a simple way to track your own stress flare pattern so you can catch this cycle early. So the first one is the physiological sigh. This is the fastest way I know to shift your nervous system out of fight or flight. It's not about deep breathing or counting to 10. It's a specific breathing pattern that directly activates your vagus nerve. So here's how it works. Take 2 sharp inhales through your nose, followed by 1 long exhale through your mouth. The first inhale fills your lungs about halfway. The second tops them up. Then you let it all out slowly. Do that 2 or 3 times and you'll feel your heart rate drop. I taught this to my son during exams. He'd use it in the bathroom between classes when he could feel his gut starting to cramp up from stress. So why does it work? Well, that double inhale re-inflates the little air sacs in your lungs that collapse when you're stressed. And the long exhale activates your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest mode. You're giving your body a biological signal that the threat has passed. Now, the second way to do this is a cold water reset. This one sounds too simple to work, but it's backed by solid science. When you're stuck in the anxiety flare spiral, splash cold water on your face or hold a cold pack to your cheeks and forehead for 30 seconds. This triggers something called the mammalian dive reflex. Your body thinks you've just plunged into cold water, so it immediately slows your heart rate and redirects blood flow. It's a hard reset for your nervous system. I keep a gel eye mask in the freezer at home. When I can see my son getting wound up, or even myself, you know that look, when they're physically tense and you can tell their gut's starting to play up, I'll hand him the cold mask. 30 seconds on his face, and you can watch his shoulders drop. You can also run cold water over your wrists, or even just hold an ice cube. The key is cold on your face or pulse points. It's a physical interrupt to the stress response, and it works when your mind is too revved up to respond to anything else. The third way is bilateral stimulation. This is about giving your brain something rhythmic and physical to focus on, which helps discharge the stress response. The simplest version, cross-lateral movement. March on the spot, lifting your knees and touching each knee with the opposite hand. Or sit down and tap your knees alternatively, left, right, like you're drumming. Do this one for 2 minutes. What you're doing is activating both sides of your brain in a rhythmic pattern, which helps process stress and calm your nervous system. It's the same principle behind EMDR therapy, but you can do this yourself, anywhere, without any equipment. My husband uses this one before stressful work meetings. He'll do 2 minutes of cross-lateral tapping in the car park. Sounds ridiculous. Looks ridiculous, but it works. The beauty of all three of these techniques is they're fast, they're physical, and they don't require you to clear your mind or achieve some Zen state. They work with your biology, not against it. Now, the next thing to take note of is tracking your patterns. Now, here's how you identify your specific stress pattern, because everyone's a little bit different. Get a notebook or use your phone, doesn't really matter. Every day for 2 weeks, just jot down 3 things: your stress level out of 10, your gut symptoms out of 10, and what was happening that day. You're looking for patterns. Does your gut flare exactly 2 days after a stressful event? Does it happen when you're anticipating something stressful, even if it hasn't happened yet? Do certain types of stress hit your gut harder than others? Social stress versus work stress versus physical stress. My son discovered his pattern was anticipatory stress. His gut would start playing up 3 or 4 days before a stressful event, not during nor after. Once we knew that, we could intervene earlier. He'd start using the physiological sigh and cold water reset as soon as something stressful appeared, not waiting until his gut was already cramping. This tracking isn't about proving stress causes your flares. We're not trying to blame you or oversimplifying Crohn's. It's about giving you information. When you can see the pattern, you can interrupt it. You kind of get your power back. So here's what shifts when you start working with this. You stop feeling like a victim of your own anxiety. You're not trying to eliminate stress or become some impossibly calm person. You're just learning to interrupt the loop before it spirals. My son still gets stressed during exams. My husband still has high-pressure work situations, but they don't end up in that panic spiral anymore, where the stress triggers the gut and the gut triggers more stress, and suddenly you're 3 days into a flare and you can't remember how it even started. You start catching it early. You use one of these tools, you feel your nervous system settle, and your gut gets the signal that it's safe to stand down. That's loop breaking. Not perfect, not every time, but enough to change the pattern. If this helped, share it with someone who's stuck in their own anxiety flare cycle. Chances are they've been told to just relax one too many times, and they need to hear this. If you want more support breaking these patterns, I work with people one-on-one, and we have a whole community inside the Crohn's method who are figuring this stuff out together. I'll see you in the next video, and have a beautiful day.